I'm Mark.
And I'm Jerry. And we are the Military Collectibles Shop. Been a while, again, since we've been able to do one of these. So thanks for all the emails and messaging saying, hey, where are you guys? What's up? Always appreciate that. Nice to know that we're missed. We've just been busy. A lot of stuff going on. I hope the weather's nice here. I hope the weather's nice wherever you are. I hope you got to see the eclipse, or not. But I hope you didn't burn your retina out.
Yes.
But always fun to see. So we got some more stuff in. So let's jump in on that and see what kind of fun stuff we got to share with you.
Seems to be a lot of edged weapons this time.
There was a lot of edged weapons this week.
Let's see. We have we have two SA daggers. This one is a RZM, and it's got a weird hanger on it. It attaches to a belt, but it's not the official SA. But I don't know. It might be real. I wouldn't take it off. And then we have a reproduction. This reproduction was made right after the war, and the company was utilizing leftover parts. So it's not all leftover parts, but some of them are leftover parts, and these have become a collector item in their own right.
Yeah, the interesting thing about these are the B&A types, and none of these were actually ever issued with scabbards. And one of the unique things about these is they actually have a plastic handle, because while they did have a lot of leftover parts, the handles weren't something they had. So they made up plastic ones so they could sell these to the GIs, as they realized the enterprising Germans knew that there was a market for souvenirs for GIs. So like Mark said, they become a collectible kind of in their own right, because they're almost the first reproduction German dagger.
We also have a first pattern Luft dagger that, if you're interested in buying it, it's already sold. But it's got the porta-pee and the hanger, and
decent blade.
Decent blade.
It'll clean up.
And sorry, I can't read it. It would take too much time.
Herder. Made by Herder. I always like these designs. The downswept wings, very Art Deco.
And then they just upscaled them for the sword.
Yeah. And the DLV dagger. That's a rare dagger. The 55 centimeter DLV. Sort of between the Luft, first model Luft, and the Luft sword. Which is interesting because, when they changed in 1938, bless you, they changed in 1938 the design of the Luftwaffe dagger to the second model Luft, which was more in line with the Army and the Navy designs, which I felt, the Army and Navy probably complained, oh, they got such a cool looking dagger and ours is kind of lame. But I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, came up with
picked up a Red Cross Hewer. This has always been a neat dagger. I was always impressed with these. It's got the sawback blade. It's got the blunted tip, and this one actually has the frog, kind of a scarce frog to find. Not the super greatest condition, but hey, then again, we're not Tom Whitman. This is the kind of stuff that actually walks in off the street out of people's attics and basements. This is what it looks like to start with.
Oh, and when you buy a sword, when somebody sends you a picture, make sure there's something there to judge the scale.
Yeah, this was kind of funny. I thought this was a full-size World War I German sword, based on the pictures, because it's nicely detailed, lion head, nice scabbard and everything. I thought, okay, and I get it, and I'm like, huh, where's the rest of it? But this is actually a child's sword, or you know, the Kindle saber, as they called them. You know, for little kids, they would dress up kids. You know, if their fathers were an officer, they would dress up the kids similarly. So this would have actually been somewhat expensive. You know, I know I wouldn't have gotten one of these. You know, if my dad was a German army officer. Here's a stick, kid. But pretty cool and very nicely done. Actually, has the shark skin wrapping on the handle, and just like a full size one. The blade's a little of lesser quality than you find, but a neat piece.
So, what we also picked up was a number of Japanese bayonets, and well, actually, 6 of them, I guess.
Wow, 6 wonderful bayonets.
And I think they all got the hook. Oh wait, no, the other one doesn't have a hook on it. It's the straight one.
So as the war progressed, they went from the early hooked quillion style to the later non-hooked style to even later last ditch effort for the bayonets, to the very last pole, tie this to a pole bayonet.
Yes, you and your friends go out there with these pole bayonets and try and take out that American machine gun squad.
In addition to some Japanese bayonets, we also got in some Japanese swords.
So we have, and these are supposed to both be, wait. Yeah, these are both army swords because they have the
5 pedals or
there's
10
actually
pedals?
Yeah, the 10 pedal thing. And one of them has a silver scabbard and one of them has a black, little bit dented scabbard. And this has that kind of like cut samurai sword thing on it.
Yep.
I think that one's just
No, this one's straighter, or point.
more European
Clip
style.
point, yeah. But these are always nice. You know, one of the more affordable swords that you can still find out there. Yeah, nice.
Now we also got this cavalry sword, and you know, the nice part about the cavalry sword is both the numbers match. The number on the scabbard and the number on the blade.
Somewhere on there. So these were used in the Russo-Japanese War?
Yeah.
18...
Around 1900 was the Russo-Japanese War. The Russians apparently thought they were going to just kick their ass, and you know, didn't work out too good for them.
So yeah, and I think one of the things I think is interesting about these is that the checker pattern that they used on their handles of these was very similar to the very last ditch samurai swords that we see when they came out with just a wooden handle with the checkering, like very, very late.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Here's another Japanese sword.
Yeah, this one is cool. This is a Wakasashi, based on the size, and it's a nice older blade. It's got a nice temper line. It's got a silver hibaki, a little collar there. It is missing the tsuba, not the tuba, but the tsuba. And that would have been the handguard that goes right there. Not uncommon because these swords could come apart. So we'll actually be taking this one apart to see if the handle is signed. But overall, a nice looking, you know, Wakasashi, probably from about the 1880s, 1890s. A lot of these came back from World War II as the Japanese turned in all their weapons.
We have, I believe this is a police little dagger.
Yeah, those are actually kind of rare.
It's pretty cool. You know, when the police pull you over and, I don't know.
Then it's got the police star on it, on the pommel. We did get a lot of edge weapons, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is cool. This is a U.S. Bolo. Thanks. 1917, 1918.
I think it's a 1917 pattern.
Oh, right.
And this one was
1918 date, yeah.
made
That makes
in-
sense.
This one's made in Chicago.
Ah, Chicago. Illinois, the doormat to Wisconsin. Wipe your feet before you come in. And this one's kind of neat because it's got the metal scabbard, which often you see the canvas and leather scabbard. This one's actually got the metal scabbard, which is a little harder to find.
And that one's dated 1918 also.
Oh, yeah. LF&C from Landers, Frary, and Clark.
How did they get together with those Chicago people?
Right.
Oh, and speaking about AK-47s, here's a little spike bayonet off of a Chinese Type 56 assault weapon, or possibly 55, I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point in time.
I feel like being stabbed with a screwdriver.
And then here's a Polish AK bayonet,
Oh, that's cool.
and
Kind of unique colored bakelite on
I don't know if this is for the AK or the AK-74 or what, but they were arguing about it. Since I don't have an AK-74 here to try it on, it's a Polish AK bayonet.
Nice. It's very clean.
Ooh, book.
Oh, more stuff. It's like a V44. A lot of times they call these Raider knives, but they were used by a lot of different people. Legitimus Collins. But that's a knife. That's a knife.
And then, it's got the cool scabbard. I was surprised, to see that leather scabbard with all of that
Tooling.
tooling, and yeah, that's the way they came. Well, here's an M3 Imperial knife. It's seen better days, and the scabbard that I'm not totally sure on.
Yeah. Either they modified it and took out like the staples on the top, or it's a reproduction.
It's a little flexible.
Yeah.
Does it smell like it's 80 years old?
No, it's kind of flexible too.
Yeah.
And the wire is kind of cheesy.
Yeah, we'll just.
We're chalking this up one as a reproduction.
But the
But
knife
it's
is
still
great.
going with the knife.
Okay, we got a couple of German items here, and here's an SA belt buckle, and that's got the silver center. And this is earlier or later? Yeah, I'm going with earlier.
I think earlier. I have a theory that they were supposed to match their button color to the center of their buckles.
Ooh.
But I haven't been able to substantiate that scientifically. But it makes sense.
With that, we also got a Hitler Youth armband. It's seen use or misuse. And we got this, I don't know, a DAF railroad electrician badge.
I think this was for the streetcars.
Oh, wow.
The electric streetcars.
So this is like would that be on a collar? Or?
I think it was on a hat. I think it was for the streetcar conductor.
Ooh.
Yeah, a different one. We've seen them before, but you don't see it often. So honestly, I'm not completely sure what it is, but it's something like that. It's a cool looking badge.
With the wings, would that be airborne?
Airborne conductor. Right.
Okay. Then we got one of these things.
Don't do it, Mark. Don't do it.
Come on. It's safe. It's loaded. Yeah, this is one of those fake machine guns that doesn't really shoot bullets. But it's kind of cool.
It's a heck of a display piece. And, you know, for a reenactor, somebody who's doing real early on, like Pearl Harbor or Guam, you know, where the Marines were stationed, they were actually using these with the big drums.
And if you wanted to do the Churchill pose with one of these
Oh,
things, and you know, smoking a cigar, you know.
All right. Speaking of early, would kind of go along with that. Got in a 1917 A1, the known as the Kelly helmet. Basically, it's just a modified World War I helmet with the addition of a new liner and chin strap configuration. You can actually see on this helmet, it's actually got it still has the old World War I style suspension still attached. So, but decent early helmet, shows some wear and use, but you know, it's cool.
Yeah,
Early.
we don't get too many of those. And
No, and that one's kind of a weird color too. It's almost like a little bit of brown. These are newer knives. Well, in our world, they're newer. Definitely reproductions, but they're cool because they're Marine Corps. That's a K-Bar Mark II, and this one is the Marine Raider knife, the Marine Raider stiletto, with the scabbard. And these are the staples I was talking about before that they call them that help protect the scabbard from the blade. But I haven't actually seen reproductions of these before. These are rare knives to encounter. And nice with the box, and there's something from the Marine Raider Association in there.
this too.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool to find. Again, we never know what's going to walk through the door. You know, and if it kind of suits what we do and what we sell, sure. Also got, speaking of Marine Corps, got the herringbone twill. I always forget the patterns, but I think this is the P47 pattern with the rounded pockets. I know somewhere you Marine guys are screaming at me. Whatever. It's Marine Corps. And these, which are really cool, these are the Marine HBT. They call it the monkey butt because it's got the big pocket on the back. But these are unissued, dead stock. They still have the tie attached. Unfortunately, a smaller size, 32.
You're gonna find a bigger size.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking for the fat Marine section. Right.
It was a long time since I was a size 32.
I remember that. I think I was in grade school. Oh, no, some patches. Some other stuff. But yeah, obviously a very edged weapon, heavy week. And we did get some other cool stuff in. So it's always fun because we never really know what might walk through the door. Unfortunately, sometimes things walk back out again. But for the most part, you know, we end up getting a lot of stuff. So it's always, you know, every week here is kind of like Christmas in some ways, except we have to pay for everything. Other than if it's complete junk, then the people have no problem leaving it behind. So what we need to do is convince the people that all their good stuff is really just junk, and we don't want it. And they'll be like, "Oh, here, just take it."
I think other people use that.
Yeah, that's true, right? Yeah. Oh, that's fake. What do you want for it? Yeah. No, we don't play that way.
No, we have a store. We don't
You
want
do?
them to come back and smash out our windows.
That's
because,
true. Right. Yeah, we're very findable. We're probably the most accessible people in the military field. We don't have secretaries. We don't. You can get a hold of us really easily. So, we hope you've enjoyed this little jaunt down this week's additions to the shop. As you can see, a lot of this stuff has red tags on it. That's encouraging because that means it's going to be going on the website soon. I don't know how soon. We're trying to improve our processes, but you know, it's kind of just us and our skeleton crew. So we do what we can when we can. So we always appreciate your patience whenever you're working with things. But overall, I think we do a pretty good job.
I think so.
I mean, technically, we're only at the shop like 10 hours a week. Other than the time where we're up here working like now. We're actually working in the, well, we're not working in the warehouse. But that crew that we talked about, they're working in the warehouse.
The crew of one.
Right, crew of one.
And hopefully she doesn't share this video.
She's our boss. Right. But she keeps everything going smoothly. So, all right. Well, we hope to see you again very soon. Until next time, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Mark.
And we are the Military Collectibles Shop. Welcome back to the surprise ending. So, there's a lot of mystery and myth surrounding the Japanese swords. We've heard tales from veterans and families of veterans how there's jewels hidden under the handle wrapping, and a lot of different stories. There's gold under there, and the truth is, most of the swords you do want to see if they're signed, and they're signed on the tang of the blade. And the tang is actually inside the handle. But in order to get at the tang, you don't unwrap the sword. Actually, unwrapping the sword is probably the worst thing you could possibly do because you'll never be able to wrap it up the way it was again. Because actually, the art of wrapping the swords is considered as much of an art as making the swords or creating the rest of the furniture for the swords. Wrapping the handle is sort of a fabric origami. It's a multi-step process, and they do a lot of different things to get it as tight and nice as they do. So don't unwrap a sword. There is a way to take the handle off. Japanese swords are a very elegant design. The whole thing is held together by one tiny little peg in the handle called the mikugi. And it's a tapered peg, so it's bigger on one end and smaller on the other. So in order to remove the mikugi, basically we just have to drive it out the opposite direction. And for that, we use a special tool. I'm sure it has a name. I call it a very tiny hammer. And it actually comes with a little peg pusher. So the way we do this, and honestly, my own belief is don't do this until you buy the sword, because if you wreck somebody's sword doing it wrong. I was actually at a show one time, and a guy came up and he wanted to look at one of my swords, and he pulls out in big Japanese sword collector. I buy Japanese swords. I'm a sword guy. And he starts hammering away, and the bits of the handle are flying off everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, it's kind of stuck. I'm like, yeah, it's old. Leave it alone. And in the end, it didn't really matter. For the sword that it was, it didn't matter whether it was signed or not. But anyways, to remove the mikugi, see, the Japanese sword people almost use a secret language unto themselves. So we find out which way the peg is tapered, and we drive it out the opposite way, slowly and with feeling. I could be a shoemaker. All right, and I could feel that the peg was actually coming out, so I'm going to go a little bit more. I know this is riveting entertainment. I'm trying to get a bite on the peg. Not yet. Not yet. A couple more whacks, we should be good. Almost. There it goes. Right on the floor. Okay, we'll get it later. All right. So now we've got the peg out. So in order to loosen up the handle from the tang, one of the methods is to grasp it at the lower part of the handle and hit your hand or your wrist. That sort of sends a shock wave through, and it kind of loosens up the handle on the blade. Let's see if we can get that. Not yet. And safety tip: always do it with the scabbard on. Don't do it with the sword just there, because sometimes the blades are very loose. They'll jump right out of that handle. Okay, now I got some movement. You can see because the spacing has opened up a little bit between the spacers and the collar. All right, and this one is unsigned. All right, but you're glad you waited for that. But it's still a very nice blade. Again, probably from the 1800s, mid to late 1800s. It's got a very nice wavy temper line on there. Nice complete edge. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see. But it's still a very nice sword. It's missing the Suba, the handguard. We will find a Suba for it. But yeah, unfortunately, an unsigned blade. If it was signed, what we can sometimes do is find out who the smith was, and that actually lets us. Then we can find out when that particular smith worked. You know, what era he worked in and where he lived. And we can do a little bit more research on that particular smith, matching up the signature with known examples of his signature. So we'd know that this would be one of a particular smith's blades. But I got nothing here. So, but definitely an older blade, and still very nice. Okay, well, thanks for hanging around for the end of this, and basically seeing Geraldo open up the vault of nothing. So, but thanks for joining us. Until next time, I am still Jerry, and we are the Military Collectibles Shop.